Good morning, everybody. What's going on? Long time no see. Long time. What's it been? 10 hours? 10 hours since the last time I got to chat with you guys? Man, if you guys were with me on, let's see, Friday morning, Saturday night, Sunday night, and then Monday morning, salute to you. Salute to you for being a part of the show. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you very much for being here. We got a fun show today. We got a packed show today. We got to start the week off right, Got to start the week off right. Cheers to everybody. Whoever's having a nice cup of coffee right now. I was thinking about it yesterday. I started thinking about what am I going to give up for Lent? I'll tell you what I'm not going to give up for Lent. Coffee. Not going to do the same thing I did last year. That part's for sure. This year, we're just going to enjoy our coffee. All right, busy weekend for the Lakers. Lots to talk about. What the hell's going on with this team? Hey, can anyone predict this team? Night in, night out. They're like penny stocks or something. They're just all over the place. You either lose all your money or you strike gold. There's a lot to hit on, obviously, about the Los Angeles Lakers. We're also at the halfway point of the season. I don't know if you guys heard me saying this during the postgame show yesterday, but 41 games in. Damn, we're already halfway through the season. What's crazy is I think by the time the Lakers, I want to double check on this before I start sticking my chest out about it. Yesterday, Lakers played their final home game, and they're going on the road for eight straight games. I want to see when they come back. Do they come back and the trade deadline's already over? Let's see when they come back. They'll be back February 7th. They'll be back February 5th. Which is the day of the trade deadline. So by the time the Lakers come back to crypto, that's it. Trade deadline is done because they won't play that game against Philly until 7 o'clock. So we'll see. Maybe this roster looks a little bit different by then. I think it's safe to say probably most Laker fans are like, hey, it would be nice if the roster looks a little bit different. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today. And then I'll take a look at a couple of the comments. And we really, really do have just a ton of things to hit on. So we're going to spend some time trying to get into some of those topics. All right, here's what we got going on for today. Hit a little bit on the Lakers weekend. They had the loss against the Portland Trailblazers where virtually nobody played. They had the win against the Toronto Raptors yesterday where almost everybody played. And it's definitely been a while since we've seen something like that from the Lakers where they actually looked healthy. But this team is all over the place, which sometimes frustrates me. When I was putting together some of my topics this morning, that's one of the things that frustrates me with the Lakers. It's like there are times they can look really, really good. How come they can't do that on a more consistent basis? Halfway point of the season, kind of what to expect in the second half. I think the Lakers are on pace right now to win 50 games again this year. Remember, that's what J.J. Redick and the Lakers did last season. J.J. is a rookie head coach. He got 50 wins last season. They're on pace for another 50-win season. But are they just kind of a team that the record is misleading? I lean more towards that, but we can have that conversation. Something came up yesterday that I think a lot of listeners wanted to jump on. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to the post-game show yesterday, I started making a little bit of a case, and I'm not going to try to take credit for this because I have heard some of the different listeners mention it on this channel that, hey, is Luka shooting too much? Is he not getting everyone else involved? Ayton has a game last night where he goes 10 of 10 from the field, looked phenomenal. And I think there's one trend that we can notice here with the Lakers. The more balanced they are and the more other players are involved, specifically DeAndre Ayton, the greater chance Lakers have of winning a game. So I want to talk about how much of a responsibility that is on Luka. We'll get into that. Latest trade rumors. I mean, here's the reality right now around the Lakers. And I'm going to kind of read off a couple from my notes here. We got that note that we were talking about last week about the Lakers could trade a first-round pick for multiple firsts. Then there was an article about what teams they can actually make moves with. Then I saw an article out there that that will just kind of take us a little bit all over the place. Is Chris Paul sending a message to J.J. Redick? We'll spend a little bit of time on that. And then a couple other small things that are out there as well. There's some chatter about the Jazz being interested in Austin Reaves. I saw, who was it? Jaren Jackson Jr. that responded on the Rich Paul trade stuff that he was proposing that obviously dominated the airwaves last week. And we'll get into some NBA news. I'll just recap real quick the NFL playoffs, and then we'll call it a day. So thank you very much for being here. Hopefully you guys are off to a good start on your Monday, and thank you for joining the show. Let me take a look at a couple of the comments here before we get started. Let's see what we got here. If it's true that Pelinka is holding on to AR in hopes of Giannis or Jokic, Rob smokes more than Ayton. It could be good stuff, you know? Let's not judge anybody right now. It could be very, very, very good stuff. Okay, let me take a look at a couple more comments before we go here. All right, let's see what we have here. We learned something last night. Need to give out more 10 days. Might I suggest Tyler Smith, Jalen Bridges, 2 young, 2 forwards that we need desperately. I will tell you this, and we'll hit on Drew Timme a little bit as well. What we really need to do is allow a player like Drew Timme to get an opportunity, and if he's playing well, then give him more opportunities. All right, let's see what else we got here. Happy MLK Day. Got a couple of people putting in the chat. All right. A lot of people working today or a lot of people off? Here's a good, listen, if we're going to do Martin Luther King and Martin Luther King, let's lob a MLK quote here. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Phenomenal stuff right there. Thank you, Ocean Breeze. I appreciate you chiming in on that one. People working today? Am I supposed to be off today? Should I end the broadcast right now? Maybe I wasn't looking. I didn't go through HR this morning. No idea if I'm supposed to be working today. All right, let's get the show started. I'm going to come back to some of the comments here. Let me just look at one or two more. A 51 season is a borderline playoff play-in team in the West. Might be right this year. At the pace it's going right now, you might be right. Now, last year, 50 wins got you a number 3 seed. So that doesn't guarantee you anything as we get closer to this season. Or as we, continue to roll through this season. Okay, let's get the show started. Please subscribe to the channel. Member show coming up. Kind of leaning towards Friday, to be honest with you. Kind of leaning towards Friday. So let's keep that one in mind, but I'll keep you posted on that front. Lakers weekend. So there's a little bit more of what we've seen from the Lakers over the, let's call it the last month or so. And I think Saturday and Sunday is probably a perfect reflection of that. I'll tell you guys what I mean. Saturday's game, I'm not going to hold too much to the Lakers because they lose. They're down pretty much the entire game against the Portland Trail Blazers, but nobody played. Luka didn't play. Ayton didn't play. Of course, Reaves is out. Adu Thiero is out. Jackson Hayes didn't play. I'm not going to sit here and hold the Lakers to the fire and say, well, how did you lose that game? The problem with the Lakers is they've been losing games against everybody, and it doesn't matter whether you're above 500, below 500. I saw a stat yesterday that the Lakers are, let me see here if I got this stat, if I got it right. I believe that win against the Toronto Raptors, the Lakers hadn't beat a team over 500 since December 14th. So let that kind of sink in for a second. The win against the Raptors yesterday was the first time the Lakers had a win versus a team over 500 since December 14th. But here's the difference between that conversation that we were having in the past about the Lakers, where remember when they started off and they were dominating all these teams that were below 500 and then, struggling against the teams above 500. Well, the Blazer loss on Saturday, that was not oh my God, Lakers lost for the first time against a team below 500 in a month or 2 months. No, I could tell you Sacramento, Milwaukee, Charlotte, Portland. I mean, the Lakers, let's just say there's an equal opportunity for the Lakers, whether you're above 500 or below 500. Lakers are going through a stretch where they're losing to everybody. There is no picking and choosing who they're losing against. So they get the loss on Saturday against the Blazers and, don't make too big of a deal about it. It's more just that the Lakers continue to lose. They had gone through a stretch where they had lost 5 of their last 6 games. I want to say they had also gone through a stretch where they were 5-9 in their last 14 games. So coming into the game against the Raptors, you had to freaking figure out a way to beat the Raptors. And I'll give the Lakers credit because they did. And they were phenomenal for, you can say after the first quarter on, they were really good. And they were really good on the defensive side. And a lot of players stepped up. And Deandre Ayton drops 25 and 13 and goes 10 of 10 from the field, had no turnovers. And I walked away from that game last night. And we'll get into kind of more of the nuances of it. But I walked away from that game last night. And honestly, as much as it was a relief to see the Lakers get a win and beat a team over 500, like I said, they hadn't beat a team, first win over a team over 500 since December 14th. As much as there was this like, okay, hey, that was a good win, there's also a frustration that comes with it because it also shows you some of their capabilities and how even if Luka doesn't have a good game, which he didn't, even if LeBron wasn't perfect, which he wasn't, even though I thought LeBron had a pretty decent game, it's like, hey, they actually have a decent squad when they all play together. They actually have a decent squad when it feels like there is effort and energy and nobody's questioning that part of their game. They actually have a team where you feel like maybe they could be a little bit of a headache. But here's what has to happen when the Lakers win. They need Ayton to be good. They need players off the bench to contribute, which Vando did yesterday. I thought Gabe Vincent gave them some pretty decent minutes. I thought Drew Timme gave them some decent minutes yesterday. I thought, from a starter's perspective, LeBron handled his own. Luka didn't shoot efficiently, but he's going to get his numbers. Marcus Smart, I thought, had great minutes when he was in there. Might not always show up on the stat line. What's frustrating about this Lakers team is there's potential. And the part that kind of drives me crazy is I don't know what I'm going to get every night when I watch Lakers basketball. And I don't know if the Lakers are they interested? Are they not interested? Are they going to play hard? Or are they not going to play hard? Are certain players going to show up, or are you going to sit in the post-game show and we're talking about where the hell were these players? They're all over the place. And I think the last month is a perfect representation of the Lakers. They're all over the place. Do you know what last night was as well? And I'll get into Ayton. I kind of want to layer Ayton up a little bit with a Luka Doncic conversation. Last night was the halfway point of the season. We're 41 games into the year. And if I told you before the season started, if we're just looking at the standing, not even at the standings, we're just looking at the Lakers record. All right, I want to look at this here because we'll do this together. Lakers are sitting on the season so far this year, 9 games over 500 at the halfway point. They're 25 and 16. Guys, that's not a bad record. It's a good record. I'll take 25 and 19. I think 25 and 19 is a good, 25 and 16 is a good record for the Lakers. Here's the problem. They could be on pace for 50 games. They can we could look at it and say, hey, JJ's got a chance in his first 2 seasons as the Lakers head coach to get 50 wins in multiple seasons and do it in the Western Conference. Numbers wise, if I don't give you any context, I don't give you any details, and I just said, here's what they are, 25 and 16, I think most people are going to sit back and say, that's a good record for the Lakers. The problem with the Lakers, if I ask this audience, I'll propose a question to everybody. Are the Lakers a true threat in the West? Right now, as we sit here on January 19th, midway point of the season, 41 games in, 25 and 16 on the season. Luka, LeBron, Ayton, Austin Reaves, Marcus Smart, some of the offseason acquisitions that they got. Do you think they're a legitimate contender in the Western Conference? You guys can answer that question, and I'll look at some of your comments. The problem with the Lakers is their record says one thing, but the way they play the game says a completely different story. They can go up against squads. I mean, I'll go through a handful of these games. How do you predict the Lakers? How do you predict them? How do I know what Deandre Ayton is going to give tomorrow against Denver? How do I know what Vando or Gabe or Marcus Smart are going to give this upcoming week? They play Denver tomorrow, Clippers on Thursday, Dallas on Saturday, 3 games this week. The team's all over the place. They lose to 16 by the San Antonio Spurs. They lose to 12 by the Sacramento Kings. They drop 141 and demolish the Atlanta Hawks 141 to 116. They get blown out by the Charlotte Hornets, give up 135. They dominate Toronto yesterday. I don't know what to expect every single night. And if there's one thing that I could say through the first half of the season for the Lakers, there's just no consistency with this team. And the reason why they're 9 games over 500 is because they stacked a lot of those wins early on. And then over the last month or so, they're well below 500. The record says one thing. Who they actually are on a night in, night out basis, I put it here in my notes. Are the Lakers just stacking wins, or are they actually a threat in the Western Conference? And I think we kind of answer that question for ourselves here. Okay, I want to hit on DeAndre Ayton, and I also want to hit on Luka, because I think I could tie these two guys together and hit on a few different angles from that perspective. I do want to look at everybody's comments, and I'll let you guys kind of answer that question that I mentioned there. And I'm sure we're going to have some great comments that give us a little bit of nuance of what you guys feel in regards to where the Lakers are. Before we do so, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. Go to that website. Very, very simple. It's an absolutely free consultation. They're injury attorneys that can help anybody in the state of California. Serious injury, wrongful death case. Maybe you're in a situation. I've had somebody hit me up and say, Al, I got something going on in the real estate space. Can Brad Wallace just point me in the right direction? Absolutely, he can. Whatever it is that you need from a legal perspective, maybe it's right down Brad Wallace's alley, and I know he's going to be able to take care of you and help you. And I've told stories before how insurance companies out there, they just want to settle. But then if they got to deal with an attorney like Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm, they know they got to roll up their sleeves because he's going to fight for all of his clients. Whatever the case is, if you just need somebody to start pointing you in the right direction, go to the website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You want to hit me up with a personal email and say, Al, do you mind making a personal introduction? I'm happy to do so as well. I know Brad very well. I've known him now for about 6 years. He's a big supporter of the channel, a big Laker fan, and I'm sure he'll help anybody that's on this channel that needs his help. wallacewins.com/Sliwa is the website. And shout out to Brad Wallace, and shout out to our listeners for supporting our partners as well. All right, let me take a look at some of the comments here. Let's see what some of the people are saying. Kind of scroll towards the bottom here. The Lakers are stacking wins now so that if we do make important trades, if we make a couple important trades, that we'll be in position to actually contend. RK, I like this comment. It's a good comment. I think I was saying this last week. I don't think the Lakers are awful. But I think the Lakers obviously have some legitimate holes on the roster. And when I kind of start talking about some of the individual players, I was on yesterday. There's a sports radio station in Toronto that reached out to me, and they wanted to talk about the previewing the Lakers and the Raptors. And then they had some questions specifically about the Lakers. And one of the questions was, can the Lakers as is, without making any moves, can they truly compete? And they were specifically trying to ask me a question about the Lakers on the defensive side of the ball. And I said, I don't think the answers are internally. I think they can get marginally better internally. But if you're asking me, can they go make a run? If the playoffs started today, the Lakers play the Denver Nuggets in the first round. Lakers are sitting at a number 6 spot. Denver's sitting at a number 3 spot. I know we got a lot of time, and there's a much stronger likelihood that those are not going to be the two teams that face each other once the playoffs come. But let's just pretend for a second. You think the Lakers are beating the Nuggets, starting that series on the road with a healthy Nikola Jokic, with a team that's, clearly handed the Lakers some issues. Granted, that was with Anthony Davis and LeBron. It was a completely different regime for the Lakers. But do you think they're beating Denver in a 7-game set? Because I don't. Okay, if I said they're playing San Antonio, all right, maybe a little bit better of a chance because San Antonio doesn't have all that much experience, but the Spurs would be a headache to the Lakers. The Thunder would be a headache to the Lakers. Houston would be a headache to the Lakers. I think to answer your question here, as long as they're making moves that is trying to address the Lakers' future, and also by addressing the Lakers' future, they're able to help the present, then that's a smart strategy from the front office, from Rob Pelinka and ownership. Stacking the wins are important. I'm not here trying to tell you that winning these games against teams that are below 500 are not important. They're very important. How many times, how many, and this could be any sport that you follow, what NFL playoffs, right? You lose against a team in week 13 that you're supposed to beat. And then when the season ends and you look at the standings and all of a sudden you don't have home field or you got to go on the road, everybody's going to go look back on that loss you had against a team below 500 in week 13. Beating teams below 500 and bad teams, you need it. You have to have it. It's very important. But I think the thing that sticks out to me with this Lakers team so far is get the wins you can now. But I'm also not going to pretend that 9 games over 500 is the Lakers can stick their chest out and any team at any night, the Lakers got a shot to beat. That has not been the case for the Lakers. But this is a good comment here. Let's see what we got here. A team struggling in LA means the cap system is working. Yeah, boring a simulation. Go mediocrity. Yeah, I mean, listen, the struggling piece, let's not pretend like the Lakers are 9 games below 500 because they're not. They're not in an awful situation. They're really not. I mean, for them to get up to the number 4 seed, all they got to do is go on a little hot streak here and then, watch some teams potentially in the Western Conference fall a little bit, which is not uncommon. It happens. We saw the Rockets that were falling for a while, San Antonio. Hell, the Oklahoma City Thunder went through a stretch where I think over a 13-game stretch, they were 17-6. So it's not completely out of the ordinary. Get a couple more in here. I don't think the trades will help us win a chip this year. We can't and won't trade LeBron, Luka, and Austin, but trading other assets like Rui or Ayton, I don't believe help us win this year either. I don't think they're trading Ayton. I think Rui just kind of depends on if another team sees some real value in him, but they're probably going to hold on to him as well. But I think something that's more realistic for the Lakers is they make a trade that will help them this year, but more importantly, it's going to help them for future years. I'm going to get into some of the latest trade rumors because the Lakers are clearly trying to be very, very creative right now. Let's put it that way in regards to what they're going to be doing. Obviously between now and the NBA trade deadline, there's a couple stories there. I want to bring up a topic that came up yesterday, and I think this is a good one to get into right now. A good conversation to have based off of what we saw yesterday. So yesterday, Deandre Ayton goes 10 of 10 from the field, has a monster night, performs well, give him all the credit in the world. He had a phenomenal game, 25 and 13. And I'm not going to sit here and, I'm not going to emphasize that that's it. This was the difference of everything last night. It was the difference of everything last night. But the problem is with Ayton, I'm not 100% sure what he's going to give every night. But here's what I will tell you with Ayton. I think he is the most influential piece on the Lakers, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. If Ayton has a really good game, the chances of Lakers winning that game is pretty damn strong. If Ayton is a non-factor, the chances of the Lakers losing that game is very, very strong. If he plays well or if he doesn't, it usually determines the outcome of the game. That's what I've kind of noticed with Ayton so far this year. All right, how much of that is on Ayton? Okay, a pretty good amount, right? If you're DeAndre Ayton, here's what you can't have. You pick and choose when you want to show up. You pick and choose how much energy that you want to give. You pick and choose whether you're showing up ready to roll up your sleeves or you're just kind of coasting for a game. Some of that's on Ayton. I thought something happened yesterday, and it came up very naturally. This is not a conversation that I kind of prepared for in the post-game show, but it came up. How much of this responsibility is on Luka? Because here's what I'm noticing with Luka, and I think this is a fair conversation to have, and I want to have that conversation on Luka. I think we could all agree, for all these, Laker fans that have got a chance now, Luka's almost been on the team now for a year, right? February 1st or something like that is when that trade went down, and that's coming up here pretty soon. But here's something that I want to point out with Luka. Luka's unbelievable. He's a top 5 player in the league. He's one of the best offensive players in the NBA, and his arsenal is ridiculous. Does he shoot too much? And let me tell you what I mean by when I ask the question, does Luka shoot too much? It's not that Luka can't go out and drop 40 every single night. There's only a few players in the league that can do that. I was watching some of these Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were playing on, I think it was on Friday night they were playing. Friday night or Saturday night. Maybe it was on Saturday night. And Anthony Edwards dropped 55. And if you watch Anthony Edwards play, it's like, Jesus, this guy, what do you need him to do? Get to the basket, hit some threes, get to the free throw line. He's got the full arsenal on offense. Devin Booker's one of those guys, can drop 50 on any given night. Go through the league. There's some players out there, you're like, it's almost when you see the stat line, you're not surprised at all. Yep, that's what that player does. Luka's one of those players. Here's my issue with Luka right now, if I'm trying to be critical about Luka. Do the Lakers have a better chance of winning by Luka taking 25 to 30 shots and scoring 40, 45 points? Or do the Lakers have a better chance of winning if Luka's going out of his way to feed Ayton, to get other players involved, to be sometimes a decoy on the offensive side to free up some of these other players, to draw 2 guys on defense, 2 guys kind of come to Luka because there's so much attention on him, and Luka's like, perfect. I'm going to feast with 13 to 12, 10 to 14 assists, depending on the night. I'm going to feast because we got a better chance of winning if I see Ayton getting the ball, if I see Rui putting the ball in the basket, if I get Jake LaRavia on a couple of easy buckets, and hopefully some guys are hitting some threes around him, which I know is a problem. And I'm sure there's a lot of times that I'm sure there's a lot of times Luka's sitting back saying to himself, do I really want to pass the ball right now to you name the person? Do I want to pass the ball right now to Jared Vanderbilt or Marcus Smart? Or I want to just take another 25-footer because I got much more confidence that I could hit a shot than one of these 2 guys? I think if the Lakers are going to make a run, or they're going to start being taken seriously by more teams out there in the Western Conference or NBA execs, whatever the case is, don't get me wrong. I know the roster construction is not perfect on this Lakers team. And I know Luka's not going to always shoot 8 of 23 from the field like he did yesterday. There's a lot of nights he's going to shoot towards 50%. But I think there's a real imbalance on this team right now that if the Lakers don't start getting contributions specifically from DeAndre Ayton on a consistent basis, I got trouble thinking that the Lakers are going to be, a team that could be a threat in the playoffs. You got to have balance. ISO ball doesn't work in the NBA. Luka's great. He's unbelievable. Like I said, the guy can drop 50 on any given night. But I think Luka's got to adjust his game a little bit here too. And I think JJ Redick's got to go out of his way to challenge Luka at times and say, Luka, that's not a good shot. Luka, stop trying to draw fouls. Stop trying to pay so much attention to your own offensive game. If we're going to win tonight, I need 20 from Ayton. I need 20 from LeBron. Of course, Austin Reaves is going to eventually come back. I need 12 to 15 from DeAndre Ayton. And Luka in his sleep is going to get you 25 to 30. So I'll ask that question because it did come up yesterday. And I thought it came up organically. It was a natural conversation. Does Luka need to be more of a distributor? Is Luka trying to put the burden more on his shoulders than he should? Or is there a case to be made here for Luka that, well, he just doesn't have the right players around him, so this is what Luka has to do? I'll tell you where I lean on this conversation. I lean more towards the more balance the Lakers have offensively, the more balance that you have within your starting lineup and some of these bench players, that's going to be the blueprint for the Lakers to win. I've seen Luka drop 40 and the Lakers get blown out. I've seen beautiful nights from Luka Doncic where he goes off and the Lakers still lose. By the way, I've also seen Luka not have good nights, and it doesn't happen all the time, but the Lakers still win like they did yesterday against the Toronto Raptors, which is, I would say that's a very encouraging thing to watch. I'd like to see Luka become more of a player that's less about getting his and more about, I'm going to slice and dice this team. I'm going to dissect this other team, because the moment that I get one-on-one opportunities, I'll take advantage of them. But the moment that I have all these defenses paying so much attention to me, I'm going to make sure others get involved, because that box score from yesterday, the fact that it was 24 LeBron, 25 Luka, 25 Deandre Ayton, another 10 from Rui Hachimura, a couple other players that were close to double figures. I know Marcus Smart was close there. I don't even think the Lakers did anything special on offense, but I thought there was a balance, and obviously Ayton was literally perfect from the floor, going 10 for 10. I'd like to see a little bit more balance. I think there are times Luka forces it. I think there are times Luka's more focused on the offensive side, but specifically his own shots. I think there's times Luka forces shots. I think there's times Luka's more focused on trying to get to the free throw line than trying to make or trying to take a good basketball shot. That's kind of my assessment. Doesn't mean Luka's not great. It doesn't mean Luka's not one of the baddest players in the league. But it means if the Lakers are trying to win games, I don't think the strategy is putting it all on one guy's shoulder. I don't think that's the right strategy, nor do I think it's putting it on one guy's shoulders and then also depending on a 41-year-old. So let me take a look at some of the comments here. I'm sure people feel a certain way about this. You know what's interesting? I haven't looked at the comments yet since I started this subject and or this specific topic. Probably have over 100 comments that are waiting right now. I'm not sure. I don't know if people are going to lean more towards, yeah, I agree with that, or more people are going to say, Alan, the Lakers roster is crap and Luka needs to be doing what he's doing. Let's take a look at some of the comments. Let's see what we have here. Let's see. Go kind of towards the bottom here. ISO ball can win you games, but it can't win you a championship. I'll go a little bit further in this. ISO ball not only can't win you a championship, I think ISO ball is going to get you out in the first round if you're playing a good team. Now, listen, Austin Reaves isn't there, who's a dynamic player for the Lakers. Guys, it's not a coincidence that since Austin Reaves, I'm going to go back to this. I think I did this a couple days ago, but I'm going to come back to this. Austin Reaves left against the Rockets on Christmas, right? Okay, how many losses? They lost to Houston, Detroit, Spurs, Bucks, Kings, Hornets, Blazers. They have 7 losses since Austin Reaves left the Lakers. Okay? Now, if I'm going to look here, how many wins over that stretch? Kings, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Hawks, Raptors. They're below 500 since Austin Reaves left. I'm not trying to make an argument that Austin Reaves is not dynamic. He is. And I'm sure Luka's looking around and saying, when's Austin coming back? But what I will tell you is I don't think ISO ball not only doesn't win you a championship, ISO ball against Denver in the first round, you're out of the playoffs. The Lakers are sipping on some margaritas, but before May 1st even comes around. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, now this is a great, if you're going to make an argument the other way, this is the argument to make. The reason why Luka hogs the ball a lot this season is because the roster construction is ass. In Dallas, he had the right guys around him that he could rely on. I was waiting for this, right? These are the two comments. If you're going to make a case one way to make a comment of Luka, start distributing the ball more, is you just can't have sustained success if it's too much ISO ball. The argument that I was going to get the other way was going to be somebody saying, Al, are you looking around? Are you looking at what Luka's options are? Jake LaRavia's got very little confidence on offense, and we know that he's going to be unreliable. Jared Vanderbilt has as good of a jumper as any of us that are on the chat, and we don't play in the NBA. Marcus Smart is inconsistent. DeAndre Ayton sometimes shows up to work. Other times he's like, I'm good today. I'm going to go clock in. I'm going to get paid, but I'm not actually showing up. Gabe Vincent looks broken from the three-point line, and that's not just this season. You can point at that Lakers roster. I'm not saying that you can't. PJ Washington isn't there. Kyrie Irving isn't there. His lob threats that he had in Dallas, you're 100% right about all of that. But I'm still going to go back to the same thing. If I had to pick between the two, of what's a better way of winning, what's a better chance of sustained success, ISO ball or team ball? I'm taking team ball all day long. I am. I mean, I don't think I'm the only one to notice that Luka takes bad shots, takes 4 shots. He hits some of them. And then when he hits some of them, it's kind of his way of saying whether it's a good shot or not. Let me give you an example. Kobe back in the days. I've given this example before. LeBron is the type of player that he'll tell you, I'm going to make the right play. If a second defender is coming on me, that's my signal to go find the right player. And then let's just get a good shot. Kobe back in the day. A second defender is coming to me, and I'm looking at the rest of my teammates. Cool. I'll just take a shot over 4 hands rather than 2. And Kobe probably in his absolute gut believed this is the right shot, whether it was or it wasn't, statistically or not. There's certain players that are like, yeah, I can't rely on others. I got to rely on myself. So these first 2 comments, which are perfect comments to have, and I appreciate you guys. I think those are great comments to kind of show both sides of it. There's your argument one way. There's your argument another way. Let me find some more here. I'm sure there's some good ones here. We just have to do like Mavs and put some athletic defenders around Luka. Stop thinking it's simple. Well, they got to go get those players. But yeah, I agree with you. That's why we always kind of make this argument about the Lakers, that every move that they make, and can they really build a championship type of roster with Luka and LeBron on the team? I've said it, now for at least 30 days or so. The answer is no, you can't. You can't have a 41-year-old and a 26-year-old timeline. You can't have $52 million going to LeBron at this stage of his career and still think you're putting together a championship roster. And this isn't a knock at LeBron by any stretch of the imagination. What he's still doing is unbelievable. No one will ever do this 23 years in the league, in my opinion. But at the same time, they can't fully probably build around Luka until we get to the offseason. What they can start doing is by the trade deadline, start bringing guys in that they think are going to be with Luka and Austin Reaves for a handful of years. Let me get a couple more on here. Slee, he's a center, doesn't have the ball like Luka. It's up to the teammates to get him the ball and stop shooting bad shots. I think what you're talking about there is Ayton. I think Ayton, and by the way, somebody mentioned this in the postgame show yesterday, which I agree with as well. Somebody said, well, it's also on JJ Redick to force Luka to try to just make better basketball decisions at times. Yes, it's okay to be critical about Luka Doncic. That's okay. That comes with the territory. Luka's brilliant. He's great. There's plenty of games too where I would tell you that Luka's got to be better as well. He's just got to make smarter decisions. In regards to Luka getting Ayton the ball, absolutely. Everybody should be getting Ayton the ball more. Ayton should also not show up to work sometimes and say, well, I'm going to give you 60% of my effort. That's bullshit too. You can't have that. And there's certain players, even if they're not the best players in the world, they're going to give you effort every single night. That's also the responsibility of Ayton. But I do think somebody who mentioned yesterday about JJ, I think there's some truth to that. Let's get another one in here. The most insane thing is the Lakers are just a couple games back from the number 3 seed. It's almost like the people that didn't want this team to succeed are winning the narrative battles. Shaking my head. Here's the problem with your argument here. Let's say the Lakers started out the season really bad. Let's say they were a 500 team. And then they went on a run for a month where they killed it. And then we're sitting here now and they're 9 games over 500. Let's just hypothetically make that argument, make that conversation. Then I would agree with you. The problem is they've played a month of below 500 basketball or around that. And I get it. Listen, I just went through the list of how the Lakers are since Austin Reaves left. That's a critical injury for the Lakers. But then there's other nuances to it. I think right now, if you said, are the Lakers a top 4 team in the Western Conference? Most people are going to say no, including myself. And are they getting past the first round if things aren't perfect? Probably not. So we'll see what eventually happens. But great comments here, guys. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys throwing in some of these comments. Let me build one more, or let me get one more in here real quick. Kobe was a shooting guard. His main job was to score. Luka, as a point guard, should play unselfish basketball and get his teammates more involved. I mean, listen, let's not pretend whether Kobe was a shooting guard or not. Kobe likes shooting the ball. Luka likes shooting the ball. There's a lot of point guards in the NBA out there that are shoot-first point guards. Not everybody's Mike Conley or Chris Paul or, your more traditional point guard. There's a lot. Ja Morant, I'm talking about Ja Morant just because I'm just thinking of some point guards here. Steph Curry, even though I think Steph Curry was more about ball movement and everything else, there's also a lot of point guards out there that are shoot-first type of point guards. Luka, listen, it's in his DNA to go get buckets. But I do think the Lakers are better off if he's got a little bit more balance there. All right, good stuff right there. Good topic, by the way. I like that topic. That's a topic that, like I said, came up yesterday and I think has a lot of layers to it. And definitely think people have a lot of thoughts on that one. And like I said from the beginning, I think for me, it's a different topic that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. And I do think there's some truth to it. I do think there's something that could be a little bit more balanced from Luka's perspective in regards to that. Harris Resort SoCal. I'm out there. I'm going to do a show a week from Friday out there. I'm going to do my morning show out there. HarrisSoCal.com. I still got to get kind of more details where I'm going to be and everything else. I'm definitely staying the night there. I'm going to do Hell's Kitchen the night before. That's Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. Why am I telling you all this? Is because there's a beautiful resort within 1 to 2 hours of wherever you are in Southern California that's located in North San Diego, Palomar Mountains. Just an absolutely beautiful place. Over 1,000 luxurious rooms. I mentioned, in my opinion, one of the best restaurants in all of Southern California, Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. And we got a cool partnership going here where I'm going to be doing some shows from out there. We're going to be doing a post-game show from out there. So I'll encourage, once I get that date out, come out and hang out. This will be one of the first events, at least for me, since I went 100% on YouTube, where I can hang out with listeners and everything else. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. But if you're looking for a staycation, you want to hang out with fam, friends, your partner, whatever the case is, don't get on a flight and go try to book a round trip ticket somewhere else. And before you even land, you're already $500 deep. And that's per person. Go to HarrisSoCal.com and go take advantage of one of the best resorts in all of Southern California and go enjoy a nice staycation. HarrisSoCal.com is the website. HarrisSoCal.com. Go to that website and start booking your trip today. Shout out to Harris SoCal for being a partner. Okay, so one of the other things that we got to do, and we're probably going to be doing this every single day until we get to February 5th, which will be the trade deadline day, the actual day of the trade deadline. We're going to be, obviously talking about what some of the latest is in regards to some of the rumors out there. So I want to hit on a couple of things. There was an article over the weekend, or actually it wasn't even over the weekend. Kevin O'Connor of Yahoo Sports, if you guys remember this, he had said last week, this is the part of, honestly, I got a little bit encouraged when I read this story, and I mentioned it to you guys last week, that the Lakers getting a little bit more creative here. Hey, if you want to see this new front office or this new ownership kind of start putting their fingerprints on this Lakers team, by the way, where I think they're really going to be able to do that is in the offseason. Where I really think they're going to be able to do that is going to need to happen with them making some moves behind the scenes, not necessarily just players and personnel, but it's going to be more front office moves. Are you adding a general manager? What are the scouts that you're going to get? Lakers, that the deep pockets of Mark Walter needs to kind of show its face with what he's doing behind the scenes. And then hopefully later on, that obviously leads to some transitions for the Lakers, transactions for the Lakers on the floor. But Kevin O'Connor said something last week that got me a little excited. If you missed the show last week, let me tell you what he said. He said the Lakers appear to be looking to replicate a move made by Phoenix last year, in which they would trade away a future unprotected first-round pick for multiple first-round picks of lesser value. Now, you might say, well, why the hell would the Lakers do that? I'll tell you why. You guys remember all these rumors about Herb Williams and Trey Murphy III and some of these other guys that the Lakers were targeting, even Jonathan Kuminga in that perspective. Now, that one's a little bit different of a route to take. But a lot of the conversation that was being had about trading for those types of players is the Pelicans were like, hey, we're looking for a couple first rounders. We don't want one first rounder. We think we got real value with these guys. So don't start a conversation with us unless you have a couple first rounders. Well, if you know the position that the Lakers are in right now, they only have one first rounder to trade at the deadline. So I thought Kevin O'Connor brought up something that gets me excited because it makes me think, wait, maybe the Lakers can be creative, get a player that could be that 3-and-D player that they're looking for, but just as important, get a player that the Lakers think can play with Luka and Austin Reaves for years to come. So that's one of the, obviously the pieces that came out, what was it? That was maybe on Friday. Then there was another article that came out. Silver Screen and Roll did a good job of this, where they listed teams that the Lakers can talk to in regards to, we'll give you a higher first-round pick. Give us 2 first-rounders that are further back in the draft, lesser value. So then the Lakers can maybe go try to make some kind of a move potentially with the Pelicans like we talked about. Here are the teams that the Lakers could potentially do a deal with that can accommodate what a Pelicans team would be looking for if they're trying to get 2 first-rounders. Don't be too shocked with some of the teams that we're talking about here. The most obvious one, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I thought I read this right here. Over the next 2 years, the Oklahoma City Thunder have 8 first-round draft picks. The best team in the league, the deepest team in the NBA, the reigning champions, the reigning MVP, ballers everywhere, have 8 first-rounders over the next 2 years. Here's another team that the Lakers can look at, the Brooklyn Nets. Teams like the Brooklyn Nets, I think those are the type of teams that I think the Lakers can actually make deals with, and they have some history in making some deals with. Maybe teams in the West, maybe the Thunder are saying, no, we're not trying to help the Lakers. We're not trying to compete with the Lakers. We don't want to help them. Another team that can make a move that the Lakers can look at is the San Antonio Spurs. They listed the Utah Jazz out there as well. So there's some teams out there that if the Lakers are trying to get 2 first-rounders, trade 1 for 2, and obviously be very, very creative in how they do so, and then try to go out there and try to grab one of these 3-and-D players that could be available at the deadline, there's a path for the Lakers, and those are some of the teams that are in position to make a move with the Lakers. Okay, I mentioned the Utah Jazz being one of those teams. I'll come back to some of this other stuff because there's a few other things that I want to hit on as well. Let me actually find this one. Yes. I saw this from Kevin O'Connor as well. The Utah Jazz will reportedly pursue Austin Reaves this offseason when he becomes an unrestricted free agent. I'm going to read you the exact quote. There's going to be teams that make a big max offer for Reaves, and he's going to have that choice. So the Lakers, like Rich Paul's not saying it, but I'm sure Rich Paul has that same exact information about where Reaves could go this offseason. And there's some rumors out there that the Utah Jazz are going to go out there and potentially try to make an offer for Austin Reaves. All right. There's a couple kind of layers to this that I want to get into. If I'm an NBA executive out there and I'm a GM, and if I'm being honest with everybody, I think there's a much higher percentage of Laker fans that probably don't see the value in Austin Reaves than that I probably do. Or maybe they see the value. If I'm gonna make a case here for others, maybe people see the value of Austin Reaves, but they just don't like the combo of Reaves and Luka. I get that. I understand it. If I'm a front office out there, 100% I'm trying to make, if it makes sense, right? And I think the Utah Jazz might be a team that makes sense. I'm down to make Austin Reaves one of the cornerstones of my franchise. Hey, if the Lakers want to nickel and dime Austin Reaves, I'll walk in and try to give Austin Reaves what he's looking for. Obviously, other teams out there can only offer 4 years. Lakers can offer 5 years. I think Austin Reaves wants to be a Los Angeles Laker. But if I'm hearing all these different trade rumors about Austin Reaves, and every single week it seems like there's another rumor out there, and it's not coming from the Lakers front office, so I think there's only so much that you can put on that. But if I'm a front office out there, of course I'm talking about, hey, can we go make a run at Austin Reaves? Now, Austin Reaves doesn't make sense for every team out there. But you don't think Austin Reaves can help a team like the Utah Jazz be a great building block for them, be one of the faces of the franchise? Of course he can. And there's a handful of teams that are going to be in that situation. The point I'm trying to make is if the Lakers don't trade Austin Reaves by the trade deadline, which I don't think they will, there's going to be competition for Austin Reaves if the Lakers nickel and dime, or if the Lakers decide, well, we got a number for Austin Reaves and that's going to be it. There's going to be a market for Austin Reaves, a very healthy market for Austin Reaves. And you know what's helped Austin Reaves since he went out and got injured and hasn't been there for the Lakers? You can see in how the Lakers play, they desperately need Austin Reaves. His value is only increasing. And again, I'm sure there's a lot of people in this chat that are going to disagree with me on this subject. And maybe they don't disagree with me that they don't think Austin Reaves is a good player. Somebody told me yesterday, and I had to, make an argument here and go back and forth with a couple of the comments last week. Well, Austin Reaves is overrated. No, he's not. Austin Reaves is not overrated. Austin Reaves is a phenomenal player in the NBA and would have been an all-star if he didn't get injured. Now, that doesn't mean he's a perfect fit for Luka and a perfect fit with Luka. So that part I understand. I get that argument. I mean, I was on here last week when we were talking about that Jaren Jackson Jr. stuff. I was on here last week saying that, listen, the actual trade that Rich Paul was trying to propose is not a bad trade. It's not. I get it. I get it from both sides. I get why it would make sense for the Lakers to do it. The conversation just had more to do with, it was Rich Paul that was saying it on a podcast, and then LeBron's being asked about it post-game while probably Austin Reaves is in the locker room with him. So that's what made that conversation more of the conversation. It didn't have anything to do with the idea of trading Austin Reaves or whether that trade would make sense for Jaren Jackson Jr. and Austin Reaves, Memphis, and the Lakers. So there's a couple things going on right now in regards to the trade rumors, and then that report coming out that the Lakers could potentially, like I mentioned, or the Utah Jazz could be trying to make a run at Austin Reaves. All right. There's some more things that I want to get into. I will just read this off here real quick as well. I'm just going to, and I'm not going to spend much time into it because it doesn't need the time. Jaren Jackson was asked about that conversation on the podcast with Rich Paul. Joe Varden of the Athletic reported this. He said, there's just a lot of podcasts. At first, I didn't think it was real. I was figuring out if it was AI, deep fake, all that stuff. I didn't really have much of a reaction. So for what it's worth, Jaren Jackson Jr. did at least entertain that it was brought up, and then he really didn't go too much further after that. Okay, let's take a look at some of the comments here. See what we got. You're giving AR too much credit for LA struggles since his injury. Remember, Rui missed time around the same time with AR, and Ayton missed too. I don't think I am. I really don't. I really don't. Guys, AR was about to be an all-star in the Western Conference. I don't think I'm overselling Austin Reaves. He's a really, really good basketball player. Again, I'm good if people want to say, Al, he's a good basketball player, but that can't be your backcourt. I'm okay with that conversation. I'm okay with the conversation of Luka and AR are not taking you to the promised land. That's an unproven commodity. I'm okay with that conversation. But here's the conversation I'm not okay with. People underestimating how good Austin Reaves has been for the Lakers. He's been great. He's been phenomenal. And I think you can have two separate conversations in regards to that. I think you can have the conversation that Austin Reaves is really, really good. And you can also have the conversation and say, I don't think Luka and AR is the future backcourt for the Lakers. I think we can have two separate conversations on that. I don't think I'm overplaying it when I say Austin Reaves has been good. AR won't pick Jazz 4 years over Lakers 5 years. Okay? Austin Reaves is an overrated one. That my whole pitch there, and then I get Austin Reaves is an overrated one-way player. You can make that case. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I can't see Reaves choosing to leave unless we disrespect him. It's a good point. And listen, that's probably what it would take, right? It would probably take something like that. It would probably take the Lakers saying, hey, we're going to give you $30 million a year for 5 years. And you got other teams out there like, we're giving you 35 to 40 for 4 years. We're giving you a lot more money, and you're asking the Lakers. It's kind of the thing that happened with Alex Caruso, right? Caruso wanted to be a Laker. And the Lakers just weren't getting to the dollar amount that the market was demanding. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. It's like you got a family member that wants to buy your house, and you keep saying like, listen, just pay market value. So then I'll give you a little bit less than market value. And the family member's like, yeah, I'll give you $400,000 for the home. Yeah, but other people are offering $500 to $550. I get that you're family, but can you at least offer $475 and make me feel a little bit better about this? Unless he gets disrespected. You might be right about that. Get another one here. You're giving AR too much credit for LA. Oh, this is the one I read a little bit earlier. Thank you for the super. I appreciate the super, brother. I appreciate that very much. There was one other thing that I want to see here. Let me see if I got this one. I just want to see it. I think was this the one that I saw? I got one more little trade rumor here that I want to mention. Tim Bontemps and Brian Windhorst. Here's what they said. They're going to be looking for, this is on the Lakers. They're going to be looking for bargain deals that might be able to find one, and they might be able to find one if they're willing to take on long-term money. This is coming. Tim Bontemps and Brian Windhorst. One general manager for a Western Conference team explained that the Lakers are going to be bargain shopping leading up to the deadline. And then that GM, essentially what he said after that, but they probably need to make sure that player is a good fit with Luka to justify it. They don't need to probably make sure. That's all that matters. I mean, if you're taking on salary and you're putting together a deal before February 5th, and you're going to take on salary for the next 2-3 years, there is no probably this guy has to fit with Luka. He has to. I mean, honestly, if we're sitting here by the time we get through the trade deadline, I'd be shocked that new ownership allowed a dumb deal to go through or allowed a reckless deal to go, a careless deal to go through. It's pretty simple with the Lakers. Anybody you're trading for has to be a player that fits with Luka for years to come. I mean, is there really kind of an argument to this? There isn't. I'm not a GM. I'm not a president of basketball operations. Neither are any of you guys. And I think we're all on the same page. Yeah, just make a deal that makes sense around Luka. And if you do that and you give up a pick or you traded for 2 picks and you gave up 2, whatever the case is, that's fine. Just obviously find a player that's a 3-and-D type of player that fits with Luka and is a long-term strategy for the Lakers. So I think that one is safe to say, and I don't think you have to be a genius to understand that. Lakers need to re-sign AR first, then decide to trade him off his new deal or keep him. That's the smarter move. I don't disagree with that at all. Listen, unless, Giannis is knocking at the door in the summer and saying, I want to be a Los Angeles Laker, then that's a different conversation, right? But I think this point of sign Austin Reaves, Have him be a part of your franchise. Start building around Austin and Luka and give it a year. What does it look like? What does it look like? And if at that point you're like, this ain't going to happen, Austin Reaves is still going to have a lot of value around the NBA. If teams will be willing to trade for Austin Reaves. So I think there's something there as well. All right. By the way, phenomenal comments today. I appreciate you guys chiming in with all the comments. Really, really good stuff today. A lot of good stuff that came from a lot of the comments that I think, definitely helped with the show. Okay, we got a couple other things that we're going to do here real quick, and I appreciate everybody hanging out for now. Do me a favor. Can you guys do me a favor? Please subscribe to the channel. 34.2 now. I think 34,200 subscribers, so thank you for being a part of the show. Always much appreciated. I got a few things that I want to get into. We're going to do a little bit of a weekend recap, which includes some top NBA stories. So I'm going to hit on a few different things. There's a really good game in the NBA coming up. And then I'll spend a couple of minutes on the NFL playoffs as well. And then we're going to call it a day on this Monday. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. Of course, you guys already know this. The weekend recap is presented by the Wallace firm, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you're in a position where you need an expert, go to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Okay, a couple things around the NBA here real quick. By the way, there were some really good games in the NBA as well. Some phenomenal games in the NBA in regards to some of the games over the weekend. But let me get into a couple NBA stories. This one I'm not going to spend too much time on, but I'm just going to mention it. Chris Paul is Chris Paul trying to get the attention of JJ Redick. That was kind of a conversation that came up over the last couple of days. Chris Paul tagging Los Angeles Lakers head coach JJ Redick in a social media post fueled speculation that the point guard might be subtly signaling interest in reuniting with his former teammate in LA. You guys can kind of tell me what you think. Any interest in Chris Paul on the Lakers? I don't have interest. I've said that before. I don't think they need to get older. Frankly, I don't think they need another kind of veteran voice in the room. I think they're fine with that as well. I'm good without Chris Paul. You guys got some thoughts on Chris Paul? Go ahead and put it in there. This story I hate. Los Angeles Clippers star Kawhi Leonard is having a career year. This is a tweet I'm reading from Chris Haynes. Is dealing with left knee irritation, is being sent home from the road trip for treatment. League sources told NBA on Prime NBA TV. He'll be evaluated once the team returns on Wednesday. Kawhi Leonard sustained a contusion a week ago and has been dealing with some soreness since. It's not seen as anything serious. I don't know about that. I mean, anything I think involving Kawhi Leonard at this stage, and I've talked about this, that the Clippers are playing some really good ball. Lakers play the Clippers later this week, so something to keep an eye on from that perspective, but just absolutely hate it. Kawhi Leonard has not been able to really catch a break from a health perspective, so something to keep in mind, and we'll see what happens. Lakers play the Clippers on Thursday, so we'll see if this has an effect on that game coming up on Thursday. Morant didn't play in the game in Berlin, played in the game in London. I think that was yesterday. The Memphis Grizzlies beat the Orlando Magic. Here's why I'm bringing it up. He was asked about all the trade rumors. He said, I've got a logo on my back, so that should tell you exactly where I want to be. He's referring to a tattoo of the team logo of the Memphis Grizzlies. If anybody in here knows me, I'm a very loyal guy. All right, maybe he might have to get traded to a team where they could, work on that logo a little bit, because I think the Memphis Grizzlies, I do feel like they're going to move in a different direction, and I've said this to you guys before. I get it. I understand it. I think it makes sense if they do move in a different direction. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. One more NBA story I want to get into real quick, and I'm just going to read this off X here. Zach Lowe, the Hawks, the Warriors, the Lakers, the Heat, maybe the Knicks are sort of thinking to themselves, do we need to keep all of our stuff and wait for Giannis to potentially become available, whether it's now or in the summer? The whole league is watching if they slide any further down in the standings. Does Giannis push the button now instead of waiting until the summer? The biggest story in the NBA potentially. kind of over the Giannis story, if I'm being honest with everybody. A little bit all over the place. Every couple of days, I see a different, some more stuff from Giannis. I'm like, all right, I'm good on the Giannis stuff. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm going to wait for Giannis to request a trade before I'm harping on all the Giannis stuff. Frankly, for the Lakers, I don't think they're going to do anything anyways. I don't think the Lakers are holding on to assets because of Giannis per se, unless they got some kind of insider or whatever the case is. I think the only way Giannis comes anyways, unless he demands a request to the Lakers. So we'll see what happens. Giannis is going to have all the leverage come summer. He's going to be on an expiring contract, so he could easily tell everybody, no, I don't want to go play for this team or that team. But the Giannis stuff just really hasn't gone anywhere, so I'm kind of done with some of that Giannis stuff. Okay, one thing to mention tonight, some games around the NBA. I'm going to do a couple quick things around the NFL, and then we'll call it a day. The big game tonight, I think that's going to be a good one. Celtics-Pistons. You want to watch some good basketball and two teams that have kind of a identity, a philosophy, and that play really hard. It's the number 1 and the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, the Pistons and the Celtics. That game's on at 5 o'clock on NBC Peacock. So something to keep in mind there. Some really, really good basketball between those two teams. That's coming up a little bit later tonight. Quick recap in the NFL. If you didn't watch any of the NFL this weekend, I don't know what to tell you. What the hell were you doing? Scores in the NFL. Let me start with the game let's kind of go backwards. The Buffalo Bills lose to the Denver Broncos 33-30. They commit 5 turnovers. Josh Allen didn't help himself in that game, did not help his resume in the playoffs. And then earlier this morning, I don't think a shock by any stretch of the imagination, the Bills fire coach Sean McDermott after 9 seasons and no Super Bowls. No Super Bowl appearances as well. And I think the biggest thing from everybody was obviously talking about that, was the path that they had this year that they could potentially get there. No Lamar Jackson, no Patrick Mahomes. Obviously the path was made for the Buffalo Bills and they couldn't take advantage of it. So anyways, that game, obviously we know what happened. For the Broncos, they're going to play their AFC title game without Bo Nix. We know he got injured. He's out. Really sad to see that go down. Patriots and the Texans, another team that had a ton of turnovers. How many picks did CJ Stroud have? Did he have 5 picks, or they had 5 turnovers? I can't remember off the top of my head, but CJ Stroud was awful. 28-16 Patriots over the Texans. Speaking of another awful game, the Seattle Seahawks absolutely dominate the 49ers 41-6. That game was never a game. Never a game. And then the final game last night, which was a freaking phenomenal game. I know I got some people on here that were every time I mentioned the NFL, they were talking about the Bears. Bears had their opportunity. Caleb Williams throws that interception late in the first overtime, and the Rams come all the way down, of course, behind Matthew Stafford. Kyron Williams, a really nice game as well. A couple of touchdowns for him. The Rams back in the NFC Championship. Rams, Seahawks, Broncos, Patriots. You know what's a really, really good organization that just knows what the hell they're doing every single year is the Los Angeles Rams. That's just a well-run organization. So there's your quick recap there. Weekend recap. Let's read a couple of comments and then we're going to call it a day. Call it a day right after a couple of these comments. Caleb Williams thinks he's Patrick Mahomes. That last pick, too. They're probably within 10, 15 yards of getting into field goal range. All the momentum. The crowd in Chicago getting excited. I'm watching the game. I'm watching both, right? Watching the Lakers, Toronto, kind of. Lakers are just starting to begin, and throws that pick. Oof. If the Lakers go under 500 this road trip, just give CP3 a spot. This team ain't doing nothing this year. CP3 is a coach. Lakers did the old vets thing with Karl Malone. Didn't work out quite as well. So a couple people giving their opinion on the CP3 front. Stafford is the best quarterback in the league, and he is old. Colts brought in Phillip Rivers. NFL is just king. CJ had 4 picks. All right, my fault. Thought 5. 4, not a good game. I like CJ Stroud too. I like some of these young quarterbacks in the league. So that's what we got going on. Obviously, that's going to be the all the NFL games, and we'll get some more NFL games. By the way, isn't tonight Indiana-Miami? Jesus, Alan, stay on your stuff. Indiana-Miami tonight. College football championship tonight. I don't know. The college football, the season ended so long ago. I forgot. I forgot the college football championships tonight. Yeah, tonight at 4:30, coverage will start on ESPN. All right, my people, that's all we got for the show today. $110. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate all you guys being a part of the show. Thank you to all the comments, and thank you to all our partners. Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.